Live from the 607, it is the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Why don't you join in the conversation with the hashtag ODPH? Here we go. And welcome back to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I am your host, Ken M. Sitting across from me this week is the sound guy galore, JR.
Oh, you know I'm right here.
And welcoming back to the panel after a long hiatus, but man, it feels so good to have him back in the studio. It's the one and only Coach Duffy.
Oh, guys, it's good to be back. I missed you guys so much. Long time.
Absolutely, bro. And joining the panel, because if we're going to be talking the NFL draft and why it's important, there is one guy that is rivaling Adam Schefter, Mel Kiper, and whoever else you're getting your draft information from. You know him from the website blog, Rolling Those Dice. It is the one, the only, Daniel John.
Always good to be back with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show this week. Hashtag ODPH if you're in the know, and let us talk the NFL draft. Now, I know that we are a week away, and as we get closer every day, you're going to hear more and more about what the team is doing, who they're looking at, how is this important to the future of certain franchises. Is almost like a national event now. So what I'm going to pose to the panel, starting with JR, is why is the draft important to the NFL and to an NFL team?
Well, if you ask some teams, it's really not that important. I mean, you can look at like Tom Brady. It's not really that important. Hell, you can pick him up wherever you feel like it. But no, in all seriousness, of course it's important. You know, it's building the foundation for the future. You look at the teams, you know, we talk about it every year. You look at your Cleveland Browns. Building, even if you switch sports like NBA, you're building in the process. You're taking these guys in the draft. You're building your team for later. You're working on it. You're actually developing them, giving those fundamentals, learning how to get up to speed from college to the NFL. It's amazing. It's great.
Good teams develop through the draft. Mediocre teams build through free agency. If you want to build your team long term, you have to win in the draft. Doesn't mean you're going to hit on every pick, but if you want to build the core of your roster, you're going to do it through the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. I mean, when you talk about the importance of the draft, you talk about teams that are winning championships or using the draft to help leverage to get younger players to fill in for veterans who are, you know, maybe not as a step too slow or maybe, you know, past their prime. So they're able to pick up these rookies on lower contracts to help fill the void and gaps that, you know, teams might need. And the level of importance is probably a lot higher in football than it probably is in any other sport.
I have to agree with that. I would say the NFL draft is probably the biggest off-season day of the NFL season, without question. I know free agency, first-day signings are always important, but the draft is so vital for any franchise because, as you've heard from the panel, and I have to agree with it, if you have a good draft, this is the cornerstone of how your team is going to be going for the next 4 or 5 years. If you have a bad draft, this can set you back even longer, and unless you get real lucky in free agency, and we have seen that happen a handful of times, I would say, not often, but if you have a bad draft, this is detrimental to your fan base, to coaches, to the team in general. This just casts a big shadow on you that is very difficult to get out of.
Just look at, you know, New Orleans has not been a team that's drafted really well in the last couple of years. New Orleans has not drafted well. But if you look at one draft can kind of set you up. Sean Payton goes from being on the hot seat last year. They started 0-2. They hit on their first 4 picks. You know, high draft picks, but they hit in every position. When you talk about a Ryan Ramczyk at offensive tackle, Marshawn Lattimore at corner, Alvin Kamara, you know, you go through the list, Marcus Williams at safety. They hit on all those, made their defense better in terms, gave Drew Brees more weapons. So you look at it, it turned them into a playoff team. Yes, they didn't win a Super Bowl, but they were a contender for the whole year. That's huge. That's how quickly one draft can turn you around. You put 3 or 4 of those together, and which is hard to do, but you do that, you have a contender for multiple years.
And I mean, from a general manager standpoint, I mean, this is probably the most important day of the year for them. I mean, this is what they're studying pretty much even during the regular season. What they're studying for is this one day in the month of April to get prepared for this draft. And, you know, it can make or break a general manager's, you know, career by one pick, you know, and guys who are able to find people in those depth round, those fifth, sixth, and seventh. You know, when you talk about guys like Tom Brady, you talk about guys like Ahmad Bradshaw, who, you know, were able to contribute as, you know, rookies or second-year players, you know, lead teams to championships. those late picks are just as important as the early rounds.
You know, it's funny because I think about it myself, and we joke about we have a stressful day at work. It gets busy. You got to make a tough decision, perhaps at work. I don't think there's a tougher decision than when you're sitting in the war room, especially if you've got like the number one pick. Like your job could be possibly riding on this pick. I mean, if it's a bust, you've got millions of fans that are watching you make this pick, and they're harping every single move you make, and it's like you better have this pick spot on. And I tell you what, that's a tough spot to be in. I'm not gonna lie. I know I'd probably struggle if I had to sit there, and you've got say the first, second, or third pick, and you know that this pick better be your 5-year answer, or at least your plan.
Well, that's the thing when you look at it, and that's why these teams, they know who they're going to take right now. Any of these teams that are picking, what you're going through right now is scenarios. All right, what happens if this guy's not here? What happens if this guy's not here? And you work your way through it. That way on draft day, you're not looking at it going, oh, no, my guy just went. Who am I going to take? When you do that, if you're not prepared, I mean, you can tell who does that. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to throw anybody team under the bus. But when teams are prepared, when you have a good general manager that has a plan in place and has conviction on a player, if you miss on the player, I can live with that. But if you had conviction on the guy, that's the key.
Well, that's when you talk about, too, those scenarios. You talk about teams that pick, best player on the board or need. And typically the teams that pick by best player on the board are the ones that typically end up doing better in the draft just because they're selecting the player that's going to end up filling that gap that they need, whether they know it or not. Teams that pick by need can tend to stretch and, make a leap like a Christian Ponder. Or
easy, coach, easy.
Or those stretch picks where they get up, they trade up instead of trying to sit back and wait for the guy to fall to them.
Well, I had heard a very good general manager in the NFL. I'm a little biased. Steve Keim at the Cardinals say one time, my needs in September are totally different than my needs in April, and he's 100% right. You don't know what kind of injuries you're going to have going into the season, throughout the season. So you have to the best teams draft best player available. It's there's always a need involved in it, but if you got a guy rated and you need a receiver and he's higher rated than a corner, you're going to take the receiver. You need the player. It's all about taking the best available player. It's the best way the best teams do this, and that's why these the same teams are always competing because they don't usually reach for players.
No, and you hit the nail right on the head because for teams, especially if you're coming off a losing season, the pressure is already mounted. And then if you have a high draft pick, it's almost like you have to nail it with a bullseye. You don't have the time to develop players like they used to do in the 70s and 80s. I mean, I think the last successful one that I've seen take the time to really develop a player, and it's been so beneficial, and I know Sound Guy is going to get very mad when I say this person's name, is Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. Is the last time that they sat him on the bench for a good 3 seasons at least.
They sat him for 3 years. Huh? I mean, that doesn't happen now because
the
pressure on. I mean, you got to look at last year. Patrick Mahomes is going to play quarterback for Kansas City this year. He was a top 10 pick, and he had the luxury to sit behind Alex Smith, who is a pro. He's a pro's pro. He got to sit and learn the whole year. How good's Patrick Mahomes going to be? Well, none of us know until he plays. But it was so beneficial to see him be able to sit and learn, as opposed to a lot of these guys just get thrown right in the fire, and a lot of these guys aren't ready.
I mean, I think the prime example of that would be Cleveland. And I mean, look how many times they've had to take a quarterback in a number one pick or in the high rounds, and they just don't have the time to let them develop.
But if you look at it now, I think if you look at a lot of these, where these quarterbacks could end up, and I know we're going to get there, but I think a lot of them actually are set up better this year. The teams that need quarterbacks kind of have a veteran in there that they're not good, but you can, if you're not really a contender, like Cleveland with Tyrod Taylor, the Browns have that set up. The Jets have it set up with Josh McCown. There's certain scenarios where these young guys don't have to play right away. They can sit and learn, and hopefully these teams don't rush them into it.
See, I guess I have a little different mentality there. I mean, if you're a first-round pick and a quarterback, I'm expecting you probably to play that first year because your team's taking you in the first round because they're expecting you to play. Especially when you talk about the first round, you talk about the level of talent that can be there versus the potential of a 5th or 6th round quarterback. I mean, Tom Brady was luck. He things fell perfectly on their lap for him to fall to them. And yes, I know there was, however many quarterbacks that were taken in front of him that, have all bombed out of the league. But if you look at the number of late-round quarterbacks that have had success, it's not nearly as the number of quarterbacks that have been selected in, the first 2 days. And to me, especially with when the Giants took Eli, they had Kurt Warner at the time, and I thought why sign Kurt when you have the number 1 pick play Eli? And obviously they sat him for 10 games. Then he came in, he struggled, but you put their feet to the fire, sink or swim, and you see what they can do early in the year. Now, Cleveland's a different situation because Cleveland just doesn't have the depth or talent around a quarterback to even try and make them successful. The Giants, luckily, they had a core group around Eli with veterans like Amani Toomer, Ike Hilliard, and guys like that who were able to help build him. Cleveland just doesn't have that because they're constantly taking guys that they don't let have a shot. Deshaun Kaiser comes to mind. Who knows what he could be, but we're not going to find out in Cleveland because they traded him already.
No, I think the past regimes have felt more pressure to win now, and I think that that's plagued them a little bit. But now I know with the new GM Dorsey from Kansas City, I think he's going to steer them in the right direction. But he's just got to get time. But he has a tentative plan in place.
Look at the moves he's made. I mean, yes, Cleveland has been a dumpster fire for a while, and I love the city of Cleveland. It hurts me to say that. But they have made a lot of moves that I think they've done a good job of putting pieces around whoever the quarterback will be. We'll get in that later. But, when you add a Carlos Hyde, you add a Jarvis Landry, if Josh Gordon can stay in the league, they drafted a Njoku kid who's a really good tight end. The offensive line's very good. It is actually a very talented defense. There's a lot of pieces, which there should be because they've drafted so highly. So John Dorsey's a very good GM, did a good job in Kansas City. It's definitely a totally different regime than they've had in the past.
As far as moving like this year with the draft, I'm all in with Coach on this. If I'm taking a quarterback in the top, let's say 10, for that matter, even say 15, I'm expecting to win now. I'm thinking like an Andrew Luck. You're putting that kind of pressure. He's going right in right now. I drafted you because you are our guy moving forward. You fit the scheme, and it's worked. And I'm all in on those trains. Like if you draft a quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Same thing. You're going to throw him in. He's going to, he looked really good until he blew out his leg. But I mean, same thing. Yeah, I get the Aaron Rodgers thing. It works. I mean, he had Hall of Famer. I hate saying that. I know. Yeah. Yep. Whatever. I mean, it worked. So I mean, that worked too. But then I get the mentality of, we need to know what you have now because we don't have the time to develop. I mean, we're trying to get ready for maybe 2 or 3 years out, and we need to know. I can't just throw you in 3 years later and you're now a bust.
But it's not.
Got to get your feet wet.
But sometimes it's not about where you go. It's who you're taken by, who you're developed by. I'll give you a great example. Jared Goff's a great example. He's the number 1 pick 2 years ago. Number 1 pick. Jeff Fisher is his coach. Don't get me going on that one. But they threw him in the end of the year. He looked lost. He looked absolutely lost. Now he's got a different coach, an offensive-minded coach. He looked like a totally different quarterback last year. So I can see both sides of it. I prefer to let my guys sit and learn, but I think you can do either way. It just depends on your quarterback. Depends on who you have. Every quarterback's different, and there is no Andrew Luck in this draft. So, I mean, those guys don't grow on trees.
Well, I mean, it's similar, though. You talk about a guy like Alex Smith who had 4 offensive coordinators in 4 years. How can a guy grow in that? And then obviously he lands in Kansas City, has Andy Reid, who's an offensive-minded coach, and now he can flourish. Obviously now he's going to be in Washington. We're going to see what he can do. So it's stability is the biggest thing for these young quarterbacks. But at the same time, if you're taken in the top 32, it's sink or swim. You got to either know you can do it or you can't.
There's so many elements that are involved in this. This is what makes the draft so important. And as you've heard us talk about it now, it depends on what player is taken, what team they land, and what system they're involved in. All these factors make or break franchises. We can't stress this enough. This is why we are talking about this all episode here on the ODPH. We're going to take a quick break down our number 1 picks, and then some. Stay tuned. Fair City Fire just released their new album, Shake Your Bones, and they're going on tour to support it. They're going to be playing Ransom Steel Tavern in Appalachian, New York on April 27th at 8 p.m. This is the first single off the album, Shake Your Bones. For more information, check out faircityfire.com.
Same
Coming back for the second segment on this week's special ODPH NFL Draft Edition. And we've talked about the importance of the draft, but let's break it down. If you were on the clock next Thursday, who you taking at number 1? And let me pass it to Coach Duffy first. If you're the Cleveland Browns, who you got?
I mean, if I'm Cleveland, I'm going with a quarterback. I mean, I'm going to go Sam Darnold. He's probably the best quarterback in the draft as far as being polished. Played against the best competition, being in the Pac-12, also having to play, Notre Dame. So he's played against top-level competition while, versus somebody like Josh Allen who, is a MAC conference at best, type talent. So, I think you got to go with the most polished arm as far as building a franchise, and I'm going to go Sam Darnold, number 1.
I would agree with him. I think it comes down to Darnold or Allen. A lot of speculation's been made that they're struggling with a decision, and there's a lot of smoke with Josh Allen, and he's got the most upside of any quarterback in this draft. But Darnold's a safe pick. I like to joke about him. He's tougher than a $2 steak. I mean, he is a tough kid. I think he fits Cleveland. I'd be really surprised if he's not the number 1 pick.
All right, so I'm going to ask you, Dan, is Darnold a runner?
He can scramble, yes.
Okay, so that was my only thinking about this, and I'm like, so you have Tyrod Taylor, and is he going to really learn from a guy like Tyrod who ducks and runs all the time and doesn't work through his progression? So from your argument in beforehand, I'm thinking, okay, so if you really
if you want that, you want Lamar Jackson.
If you're going to sit him behind your veteran quarterback, as we just talked about here, is he really the guy that's going to want to sit behind Tyrod? Because Tyrod looks, it's not there, and he's running. He's scrambling. He's running like crazy. So I don't know if Sam's the guy that's going to learn a lot there, but I think Sam is the no-brainer pick here at 1.
I have to agree with JR on all fronts because especially being the lone Bills fan in the room, nobody could tell you more about Tyrod and his random scrambling and play action passes. And I mean, granted, he did do good for Buffalo, and I can't take that away from him. But if I am bringing in a rookie quarterback, there's a lot of questions. I mean, I think if Tyrod is in the good system and he's got enough weapons around him, Darnold should learn something. And on paper, Darnold is the guy. He's the one who you take. He's got the most upside, I think, of all the quarterbacks that are coming into the league. I know that there's a lot of talk about Josh Allen, and I guess the question mark I have about that is he has a big arm for Allen, and do people see him as the next Carson Wentz? And is that why they're all cashing in on him and saying, okay, he's the next guy? I don't know. I'm thinking there is an upside to him as well because the kid has a heck of an arm. But if I am Cleveland, I need somebody that's going to be able to jump in arguably quicker than expected. Darnold, to me, is the guy. I mean, granted, he's young, but he's probably got the most upside of any of them. I have to say he's my number 1.
Is it out of the realm of possibility that he might jump Tyrod too? So he might not even be sitting behind him after training camp.
That's actually what I wanted to ask Dan are you going to throw him in the fire right here?
No.
Day 1?
I think what they're
I
think what they're going to do is let him sit. Initially, I think they'll let him sit. Now, it depends on how Tyrod plays. If you get through week 6, 7, 8, and the Browns are struggling like they're always struggling, then you might put him in and see what he can do. But you got to remember, he's also the youngest of these quarterbacks. He's only a redshirt sophomore. His upside is astronomical, but he does need to sit. All these guys need to sit, to be honest with you. None of them are really ready to play right now. But it wouldn't shock me if he played next year. But as of right now, no, I don't think he'll beat Tyrod out. But,
So Cleveland starts 0-4 and it's bad. I mean, bad.
I can't listen. I'm not.
Did they jump ship here?
Hugh Jackson's already on thin ice as it is. So if they're 0-4,
I mean, 1-31 is not really reason to be overly concerned about your job.
Here's one other thing I will point out though, and you have to do this when you look at drafts. You've got to look at coaches. Okay, Todd Haley's their offensive coordinator. The guy that fits Todd Haley's offense the best though is Josh Allen because Todd likes to throw the ball downfield. Josh Allen's the best arm in this draft. Josh Allen's probably the best arm in the last 10 drafts. His arm can't be taught. It's ridiculous. But he's not accurate. And accuracy does not improve over time. I mean, it just doesn't. You're not going to get more accurate when you get in the NFL. Windows are tighter. You have to anticipate. If you can't do that, you're not going to learn how.
It's all about the 10-yard out. Can you hit that route? Okay, you're good.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's what it boils down to. Yeah, you have to agree. I mean, Allen has got a tremendous arm. And like you said, but we don't, arms don't mean everything. I mean, you got to hit your targets. I mean, you could throw it downfield all day, but if nobody's there to catch it.
There's teams in this draft from people I've talked to, and I'm not going to air who I know on this podcast, but there's people I've talked to. Josh Allen's the number one quarterback on boards. Lamar Jackson's the number one quarterback on a few people's boards. There is so many different opinions like there is every year, but I've never seen a year where there's so many varying opinions on these 5 quarterbacks. The top 4 are going to go, and Jackson will go after them, but there's so many opinions on those guys.
Why don't you break down who are the top names of the picks?
What I would say, when you're looking at any draft, you're going to look at the quarterbacks. Obviously, we have Sam Darnold going, probably going to the Browns. Mm-hmm. You've got Josh Allen out of Wyoming. You've also got Josh Rosen out of UCLA. You've got Baker Mayfield out of Oklahoma, and then you got Lamar Jackson out of Louisville. Those are your top 5 guys. I would fully expect all 5 of those guys to go in the first round.
Would you say this is the deepest quarterback talent pool in recent memory?
Yes. And lately, from a talent standpoint, if you develop all these guys, yes. It's better. A lot of people were comparing to 2011, which guys got overdrafted. They didn't belong in there. But this is a much better class. I think you've got a lot of – if you hit the upside on all these guys, and we all know these guys aren't all going to hit.
It's just law of averages.
You go 500 here, you're good. But if these guys get in the right situation, you could have some really good quarterbacks in this draft if they're developed properly.
So that's who we have for Cleveland taken, number 1. Number 2 is currently the New York Giants. So I have to ask the coach, being the Giants fan in the room, what do you think your team is doing at this pick?
Trade the pick.
All right, I'm going to give you my 3-case scenario here. Number 1, they stick and they go with Saquon Barkley out of Penn State. That is my ideal situation currently, right now, with the way that this team is set up offensively. The biggest gap that they have right now, besides some pieces still left on the offensive line, but running back is something that has been desperately needed in New York probably since the Bradshaw days there and Brandon Jacobs. They need a bruiser back there, especially in the NFC East when it can be cold and snowy. You got to have a guy who can go between the tackles. Option 2 is they're going to trade down. Now, when they trade down, where they go, I don't necessarily know, but they're just going to take the best player in that position, which, fingers crossed, is Quentin Nelson. That would be another dream scenario there. Yes, I'm smiling while I say that. A Notre Dame guy. Be very happy with that pick to help shore up the offensive line. You can play him on the right or left side, and if you put him on the left side with Soldier, you're going to have probably 2 of the possibly one of the strongest left sides in the NFL. Case 3 is they're probably going to go with Chubbs out of North Carolina State. That pick I'm not 100% sure on. I know that they're going to be switching over to a 3-4, and he's an edge rusher that can probably put his hand on the ground and play in a 3-4 as a defensive end. But I watched that game against Notre Dame with Chubbs in it. I'll say that he did not do much going against the right side of Notre Dame's offensive line, which was not its strength. So, I know that that's not a lot of tape that I've seen on him, but, I'm just specifically talking about what I saw against Notre Dame, and I didn't see much. So, if they go with Chubbs, I understand why they do it. Do I necessarily want it to happen? No. Barkley's the best case scenario for them right now.
I would, as of right now, if the draft was today, from the things I've heard, I expect Chubb to be the pick. He fits James Bettcher's defense. I have a lot of knowledge on James Bettcher's defense from his time in Arizona as the defensive coordinator. He is the perfect fit to stand up. He can stand up and rush. He can take the edge. He can bend. He's very, very athletic. I would expect that to be the pick. Dave Gettleman, as a general manager in the first round, has never traded a first-round pick, and he's only traded a second-round pick once. Trade is definitely an option from the things I have heard. I just don't expect it. I think a lot of people, they love Saquon Barkley. I understand it. He's a talented kid. But if I told you in 23 of his 38 collegiate college games he never rushed for 100 yards, he's not the best running back I've seen in 25 years, like a lot of people have said. I don't expect him to go as high as people think he's going to go. So as of right now, I would say Chubb is the pick. Things could change. If Darnold were to fall to 2 and not go 1, I could definitely see the Giants taking him. But as of right now, I will say Brandon Chubb.
See, Coach, I hate to say this, man, but that offense there in New York is a dog, to say the least. So I think, we saw glimpses of this defense. You were here with us when we talked about that defense. I think you got to go with Chubbs. I think you got to keep anchoring the defense. And you know what? You got to work on the pieces. Eli, I don't know what you're going to get out of him this year. I mean, let's be real. They're going to have to be all in this year on that train, I guess, right?
What else is your train? They should take a quarterback. If I was the Giants, if it was me, I'm taking a quarterback.
See, I'm waiting until next year to take QB. I'm not. I know we talked about it being the depth of this QB reign, but I don't see anybody outside of. I'm personally a big fan of Baker Mayfield, just from a standpoint of the kid's swagger. I love it. I love the way he conducts himself on the field. I don't care what he does on the sideline. He puts energy and fire and fight into his teammates, and I love it. And I will not speak highly enough of it. As a coach, I love it. Sidetrack there. But I personally don't love any of the quarterbacks outside of him. So really, I'm going all in. I'm investing the last 15 years that they've put in Eli, and I'm putting one more on him. I'm going to sit him down if I'm Gettleman and I'm Schumer. I'm going to say, this is it. Do it or don't, but this is your ride, and it's coming to an end. Figure out what you want to do, and then we're going to go all in. And that's what they got to do, you know. I mean, but Chubbs is fine. All right.
I think you slipped by letting Nassib go. I mean, that was your future.
Yeah, Ryan Nassib was it out of Syracuse, right?
Yeah, I mean, being a Syracuse guy all the way. I mean, I'm thinking that was your guy. I don't know why you let him go. I mean, you keep developing.
Where is he now?
It's irrelevant.
But you'd be lucky if he was playing in NFL Europe if it's still existing.
I'm just saying, you missed the opportunity there. I thought he could have been the future. So
yeah,
you might as well keep hankering the defense.
Not to mention they took a quarterback in the second round last year. So I mean, they've got a guy sitting behind Eli that is there. You got to let him in David Webb. So you got to let him develop too. I mean, he hasn't even played an NFL snap yet. So who knows what he can do? You know, why take a quarterback in back-to-back years when you got a guy sitting behind Eli?
But I think you got to remember too, this coaching staff didn't draft Davis Webb. Neither did their general manager.
Correct.
Gettleman wasn't there, so none of us know what they think of them. I just think, how often do the Giants pick in the top 5?
I mean, very seldomly.
Right. And when you have a chance there, and listen, there's some quarterbacks in here that I like more than you. I'm with you. I love Baker Mayfield. You ask anybody that knows me, I'm the same with you. The swag. Yes, does he do some things that make you go, oh, boy? But from a talent's perspective, he's got a better arm than people give him credit for. He's the most accurate of these quarterbacks in this draft, and he's a winner. He's a leader.
Facts.
You can tell guys that love football. You might question it about other quarterbacks in this draft. But there's one thing I don't question about Baker Mayfield. He loves the game of football. He loves it, and his teammates love him, and that's a leader. That's what you need to run your organization.
I mean, you hit. It's funny to think about it, but you play this what-if scenario. Baker Mayfield firing up OBJ?
Oh, God.
Whoa. I mean, in New York,
that's like a chemical concoction there, right? In the lab in science class, ready to explode.
I mean, you could just picture. I mean, you could see this too. They sign him, and Baker Mayfield walks in the door, and he just doesn't even care. And he's like, "Listen, this is my locker room. We're gonna go do some things out there this year." And it's like, you know what? I like this kid. I like this kid.
When I talk about the trade down scenario, that's a very real possibility, especially if Buffalo moves up. Baker easily could be there in that 10 to 15 range that the Giants might be able to make a splash with.
I'm gonna break some news on Baker the next pick, but I'll get to that.
See, I'm with the coach on this because I think the Giants are trading the pick, and I think my Buffalo Bills are jumping at 2. I think that the coaching staff there has their eyes on a quarterback, and I think they're going to get very antsy with, obviously, the Jets are going to go quarterback at number 3 as it currently stands. I think they're going to jump up at number 2, and I do think they take Josh Allen from Wyoming. I think that they're in love with the arm. I think especially playing in the elements of Buffalo, they need somebody that's got a rocket arm. And for their offense currently right now, I mean, everything goes through Shady, so they don't really need him to start throwing downfield. But when they do, especially with Kelvin Benjamin sticking around, they got the guy to get the ball to him.
And JR might, have the chord struck with this, but doesn't Buffalo kind of feel like they're in a position like Minnesota was in the Christian Ponder day? Sitting outside in that 12 to 15 range, kind of need a quarterback, to help settle things and get the ground going. And, boy, these quarterbacks look like they're going to go in the top 10, and, Buffalo might be pooper get off the pot time here. They might have to make that move. They might not have a choice, and stretching like that might lead to, them reaching for somebody who's not there.
I mean, are you okay with that though? Because I mean, if you're going for 2, I mean, we saw last year with the Bears
I can tell you what it's going to cost them.
I mean,
it's going to cost 2 first rounders.
Well, it's going to cost more than that.
Well, no. The one thing is Buffalo has 7 picks in the first 3 rounds, and I honestly think that for them to make a jump, I mean, they're going to mortgage the farm on this. Am I happy with it? No, but in all honesty, I would be happy if they went up to 6. I just think that they're going to go to 2 because I think that, especially now with Josh Allen being rumored to be the number 1 pick with Cleveland, just rumored.
Right.
They're going to go, okay, we're either going to get Josh Allen if he's not taking it to or number one, or we're going to get Darnold. That they have their eyes on one of those two guys.
If anybody's going to trade up with the Giants, I will tell you right now, it will be the Buffalo Bills. And if anybody's going to, if the teams that are most likely to trade up for a quarterback, it's the Buffalo Bills. I highly, highly expect them to do this. I just don't think it happens at 2. And the guy that they do love is Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And if you've got a chance to do it, it's going to cost them, for them to go to 2, it's going to cost them 12, it's going to cost them 22, and either a future first or possibly both of their seconds. I mean, it's a price that there's no
it's
wrong.
steep, yeah.
Right, but if you get the right guy, it does not matter what you give up.
Right, but
if you get it wrong,
but that's
it
the
can
thing.
set you back.
Because trust me, I've sat through the J.P. Lossmans and the E.J. Manuels of trading, and this was what makes me very skeptical as a Bills fan.
We drafted Matt Leinart. Enough said.
I know, no. But I'm just saying, when Buffalo goes crazy and they go all in to move up in a draft, this is where we get dicey. So they have to nail it. They can't afford to miss it. I don't know if Allen's the guy, to be honest with you. I mean, I love his arm, but like you say, accurate, not so much. And you know what? You can't teach that, and especially in the division with the Patriots, you don't have that learning curve with
There's
that.
one other connection you can't forget here. Gettleman and Brandon Beane worked together in Carolina. Brandon Beane worked under Dave Gettleman. So relationships do matter when it comes to trades. Because there's people that you're more willing to deal with because you know, all right, the guy's not going to rip me off or it's going to be a fair asking price. So that does come into play. I still don't think that happens. I do think that the Giants stick with the pick and take Chubb. Barkley's an option, but I think Chubb at the end of the day is the guy.
So that's who we have for number 2. Number 3, staying in New York, is the Jets. JR, what's your thoughts on them?
They need more than just this one pick. I'm going to tell you that much. I honestly don't think it matters who they take right here. I think personally, can we discuss this? They're not anywhere close.
Oh yeah,
I mean, this was a full panic move.
Yeah.
Right.
Trading up.
I disagree. I disagree, and I'll tell you why. They need a quarterback. Okay, you have to have a quarterback in this league to win. Are they close? No. Is there a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball? Yes. Todd Bowles, Mike McCagnon have to start winning games. They got contract extensions, but that doesn't mean anything in New York. So, from an outsider looking in, how are you going to win? You establish a veteran quarterback, you draft the guy that you believe is your future, and you develop there. Is this the only thing they need? No, they do have other needs on the offensive side of the ball, but you have to, if you believe in a quarterback, which clearly they believe in 3 of them because that's why they moved to 3, you're all in on it. And to be honest with you, they gave up a lot. They gave up 2 seconds and another one next year, but compared to what other teams would have to give up to move there, it's really not that much.
Coach, did he just call McCown a veteran?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay,
I mean, that's where I'm...
So, I mean, back to that point, though. So, if they like one of these quarterbacks, though, and they need to start winning games, I mean, if they traded up to try and take a rookie quarterback to, quote-unquote, develop, which is what we're saying these quarterbacks need, is trading up necessarily the right move versus staying at 6 and possibly landing, either a corner or, who knows, Chubbs might be there at 6.
Because the reason they traded up is they knew they were all in on the corner. When they missed out on Cousins, this was their backup plan. So they were in on Cousins. Obviously, Cousins chose to go to Minnesota.
No big deal. Obvious choice.
Right.
But
he went to the better option. But once they missed out on that, you noticed. I mean, they immediately switched gears. That's why they made the trade. There's a lot of things that they did in the offseason that people didn't realize. They traded for Jermaine Kearse, and they also got a second-round pick and sent Sheldon Richardson out to the Seahawks. That's an underrated move. People don't think about that, but that's an extra second-round pick that originally you didn't have. Now I can use that as bait. They obviously moved up. The guy that they were not going to get the guy that they want at 6. That's why they moved up to 3. Okay? These quarterbacks are going to fly. Most of them are going to fly off the board. If you don't love one of them, I mean, obviously the guy that they don't love is going to fall. The guy that they love, they knew they had to move up to get. And that's why I will guarantee, there's 2 things I will guarantee in this NFL draft. Okay? The Browns are taking a quarterback at 1. I believe it's Darnold. The other thing, I will guarantee you, the Jets will take Baker Mayfield at 3. Mark it down, bookmark it. I will guarantee it. I will take a ton of stuff if they don't, but I guarantee you they take Baker Mayfield.
They already have a runner and a leader in Bridgewater.
He can run.
I mean, you couldn't even say that straight. No, but I mean, seriously though, I mean, so if Bowles is in this, if they're got this contract extension, which we've, it doesn't matter in New York because you can't get fired. We've seen it before in head coaches. drafting a quarterback is their best option?
If you don't have one?
Well, I mean,
You have McCown.
they got McCown. They
I
got
got your
Teddy
veteran.
Bridgewater.
Oh,
They
yeah,
got
you got
veterans.
Bridgewater.
What I meant by that is you have Josh McCown to mentor your young quarterback. Josh McCown's not going to win you a ton of games. Now, they did win more games than any of us thought they would do last year.
You got
Underrated coach
Bridgewater.
of the year.
They were the best team in New York.
Absolutely. And if you would have told me before
Not
the
true,
year,
Buffalo.
Well, I'm saying the city.
The true New York team.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
true
get
New
that
York
right.
team.
the
Get that
Jersey
right.
team, the best team in
The
Jersey.
best team in Jersey was the Jets.
Okay. But if you would have told me before the year the Jets won 3 games or more, I would have told you you're crazy with that roster. So Todd Bowles did a very good job, and I thought he'd get fired. And quite honestly, I thought he was going to be the next coach of the Cardinals after the year. Okay. He got an extension. He deserved it. He coached his rear end off.
Absolutely.
But they also know you can't count on Teddy. Yes, you signed Teddy Bridgewater. That's great. If he comes back, it's awesome. It's a great story. He's a great kid. Josh McCown's old. He's older than the 4 of us put together. Good leader. He's great in the locker room, but he's not your long-term answer. So what you have to do, and the Jets have been pining for a quarterback for years. They thought they had it in Mark Sanchez. We all know how that worked out. They've done it before, okay? They finally figure, all right, we can move up. We can get our guy, the guy that can lead us. And if anybody can do it in this draft, in that market, I believe in Baker Mayfield. I'd stand on the table for the kid.
I mean, as hard of a time that I just gave you, I actually probably see Baker Mayfield going there too. I think that he works in New York, and I don't think the Jets would let him go by if he's available. I think that from what he can bring from a leading standpoint and the winning mentality, I think that's actually what the Jets need.
Great.
Is that type of player that, is not going to go into a shell, like Sanchez. I think they need a guy who's going to be the vocal leader, and I mean, that's obviously Baker Mayfield.
I think you hit it right on the nose.
I got to agree with that, too.
I'm still thinking you got to ride the Teddy Bridgewater train. I mean, you've got the old man McCown. You don't need a quarterback. You've got Bridgewater, and he's really ticked that Minnesota let him go, so it's going to be a proven year. So, I mean, I think...
The two-glove bandit.
Yeah, come on. He's going to take him to Minnesota. He's used to playing in the cold. He played at the University of Minnesota when the stadium was getting built that he didn't get to enjoy.
Then who you taking at 3?
There's so many needs that they have. That's the problem.
Ryan Nassib is not available.
You got
First of all,
He is available.
He is available.
but not to be redrafted.
Yeah.
First of all, he is available. Second of all, you should dark horse and take Manziel. If you want a guy who's fired and animated, why don't you just take Manziel?
Because he's not a leader.
Don't
He is a leader.
do the comparison to
We're doing it.
Manziel.
They're
Don't
not
do
the-
that.
they're not the same
They're
guy.
not the same
They're
guy.
not the same guy. They're not the same guy. So JR would be trading this pick then.
After they just went up,
After
they're
they
going
just
to
went up, they're
down.
gonna go back down. What a weird move!
You could probably get a king's ransom for it.
Let's just get more and more draft picks. We gave up a couple second rounds. Now we're going to get a boatload of first round last year. We'll ride the McCown train again.
Is Kevin Costner their GM right now, trading up to trade down?
trade for draft day. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be
I'm
epic.
I'm in.
All right, so we have 3 for Baker Mayfield and 1 for a draft day movie scenario.
We're going to go back. We're going to trade back down.
We're gonna trade back down.
Fair enough. Cleveland at 4. Coach, who you got on this one?
All right, Cleveland at 4. Now that one's tough because this is all about scenarios now. So if the Giants haven't selected Barkley, I know that they got Carlos Hyde, but that does not mean that you won't put 2 running backs in the backfield. So if four Barkley's available, then I'm going Cleveland taking Barkley. If he's not there, okay, and Barkley's gone, I'm going to go with them taking Quentin Nelson with this pick because they're going to start to resure that left side of the offensive line now that Joe Thomas just left. So those are my 2 picks for them, depending on scenario. So Barkley if he's there, Nelson if he's not.
If Chubb's there, he's the pick. And I will take – that's another take to the bank. I just don't know if he's going to be there. But they love Chubb. They want to pair him with Garrett, and that's what they want to do. I don't see Nelson as a fit because they need to tackle – Quentin Nelson's going to be an all-pro guard. I think him and Chubb are the 2 best players in this draft, in my opinion. Barkley is a possibility here, but I think if Chubb is not there, I think this is where you see the Bills trade up. I think what Cleveland will do is trade back to 12, collect a bunch of picks, do what the Browns do, okay? And what you would see is Buffalo move up and take Josh Allen here. So it just depends who's there.
That's actually a pretty good scenario.
Coach hit it on the nose, though. It's about scenarios and that's what you have to go through. But I think if Chubb is there, the Browns will make that pick. I don't see them taking Barkley here. Now, maybe if Chubb's not there, maybe. But if Chubb's not there, I fully expect them to trade this pick to Buffalo, and this is where Josh Allen goes.
I'm 100% with you here because Cleveland's going to take quarterback number 1.
Yep.
Just a matter of who.
Yep.
And then, like you said, all about scenarios. Who's actually going off the board? If the Giants, for whatever reason, we seem to all believe that they're not going to take a quarterback, but okay, if they do, then you've got panic, and now people are going to start moving up.
Oh yeah,
and
full on panic.
I mean, I trust the people I talk to,
right.
but you don't know until the pick's in.
Right, and that's the thing.
You don't know.
It's all about scenarios here, but I'm 100%. Whether it goes to Buffalo or not, I think Cleveland ditches this pick, and they're going to get a healthy ransom for it. So, I mean, if you've got somebody who's in desperate need of a running back that's going to jump up there, and they're all in on Barkley, and they want to take him, perhaps. But I definitely think someone who's looking Miami-ish, maybe even jumping up there trying to get a quarterback, somebody's going to go and get that pick, especially if 2 are off the board in the first 4. So.
I think if you're Cleveland, I think you try and hold that pick ransom. I think you take
That's
that
a smart
clock.
move.
I mean, you run that clock for 10 minutes, and you wait for somebody to call to panic finally and hit that trigger. Because, yeah, I mean, really, if you think about it, actually, now that you guys talked about trading that pick, that makes a hell of a lot of sense to me now. Yeah. I mean, why not? Mortgage that pick, get some first-rounders, and build,
Because if you're Cleveland, I mean, they still have needs, but you could move. If you're Cleveland and you sit there and go, okay, Chubb's not there, the guy that we really want, we wanted to come away with this quarterback and come away with our pass rusher. Okay, if you affect that with the first pick and you get the quarterback and you go to 4 and go Chubb's not there, I'm not taking a running back at 4. And I think Barkley's being overvalued. I said that before. So I can move back, and I can move back to like 12 and trade with Buffalo. I can get 12 and 22, and I can go, well, listen, I need a left tackle. Mike McGlinchey's there. I could take Mike McGlinchey, or I could take a Minkah Fitzpatrick, or whoever you have rated on your board where you fall, or it also allows them to move back up from 12 because they have ammo. So
there's a lot of different scenarios with it. I agree. I think they should hold the pick and trade it, but I don't see them doing it. Granted, like I said, what I think they should do and what I really believe they're going to do, I think if Chubbs is there at 4, they take him there.
I agree.
If Chubbs is gone and they don't get what they want and Barkley's still on the board, they're going there. But, all right, just for our sake and purpose, I'm going to say they take Chubbs because according to my pick, Buffalo's already traded. So that's who we have at number 4. And to close out the first segment, Denver is currently at 5. Dan, what do you got for them?
Comes down to scenario again. A lot of talk about quarterback with them. But I believe at the end of the day, I think they trust Case Keenum. He's got a lot of connections to Gary Kubiak, who's still in the front office, especially if Baker Mayfield's not there. That's the guy they love. They love Allen and they love Mayfield. I think at the end of the day, they take Quentin Nelson at 5. The trade back is possible here. If Buffalo doesn't move to 4, Buffalo's moving up. Okay, one of these spots.
Whoever's going to dance with them, they're moving.
Right, they're going to find a way. I believe it's all on scenario. But I think at the end of the day, I think you're going to see 1 or 2 names here at 5. I think you see either Quentin Nelson or you see Denzel Ward, the corner from Ohio State. But I would put my money on Quentin Nelson. He is the best offensive player in this draft, and quite honestly, I don't think it's really close.
All right, so in my scenario now, if we're playing these out, I have now traded Buffalo up to number 4. So Denver's sitting here at 5 with maybe Miami calling. Now that they might be hitting a panic button. But now that, another quarterback's off the board with Buffalo at 4, I'm going to go probably with them taking Quentin Nelson. I have heard that they love Ward out of Ohio State. They want to rebuild that secondary now that they've, let some of those aging vets go. But I think if Quentin Nelson's sitting there at 5, I don't think you can pass him up. I mean, I know I've probably said his name 1,000 times, and if you're playing a drinking game at home, Quentin Nelson. But I think you can't. I don't think you can pass up a offensive guard that's going to be able to probably lead your offensive line for the next 15 years.
And it's a huge need for them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, when I look at this, I mean, in Keenum we trust. I thought I was all for it. Before we made the push for Cousins, I was a little nervous as how much we were going to pay, but we got him. Keenum found his home in Denver. I mean, if I'm looking at the way mine's played out, I don't see why you can't take Barkley here. They just let C.J. Anderson go. So, I mean, you need a running back. Devontae Booker's not going to be the guy. I hate to say that, but it's true.
Tell that to their front office. They like him.
That's fine. But, I mean, again, as we talked about before, best available on the board. I mean, I think it can't hurt when you're thinking long term. If you get, I mean, Barkley, to me, I know we disagree on this, but I can't. He almost looks like an Ezekiel Elliott to me. I mean, it may not be a 5, but I mean, he's
close to Ezekiel
hey,
Elliott.
Listen,
not even close.
I see. I've heard and read a lot of people that have said that he is Ezekiel Elliott level.
I mean, I know we can disagree. I'm just saying.
I agree. No,
for Denver here, I mean, the guy's played in the elements. You've got, a Keenum who's relatively still young. I mean, he's proven he's come off a good year. In Denver, I don't see why you can't. I'm going to say that's what I'm going to go with, only because I know you let Anderson go. Booker, I don't think's the guy. I mean, I know they're high on him and they like him, but
they're going to draft.
It's hard to look at him and go no.
They're going to draft a running back, but you got to remember the system too. It's a West Coast offense. John Elway runs that organization. Denver under John Elway, when he played for Mike Shanahan, they run the same system. It has not changed. They don't believe in taking running backs early. I mean, it's just one of those things. They don't value that position. They feel like, I can get a guy in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, even later, that I can develop and plug in the guy. I'm with you, okay? I'm not disagreeing with you on it. Like I'm in the same advertisement. I don't take running backs in the top 10 unless you're Todd Gurley. Zeke was a different story. Zeke was phenomenal, and I don't like Ohio State, but the guy was great. Barkley's not in that category, in my opinion. I mean, Zeke dominated at the college level. Leonard Fournette dominated at the college level. Todd Gurley dominated at the college level. Barkley did not dominate in college. He had good games. He made impact, but there was games he disappeared and completely disappeared. If you're that dominant of a player, and it's a running back, it's a devalued position. You get 5 good years out of him, you consider it gold mine. So why not take a guy that I can pay for 10 to 12 years that's going to open holes for me and make my mediocre running back look like a stud? Or am I going to, let my stud running back get absolutely washed up every play because I can't block?
Especially when you talk about a zone running scheme, which is what they run in Denver. Right. A big guard like Nelson will open those zones.
It's a good question what Denver's going to do because I think they have a lot of needs. But I think the one that I think is most glaring, at least to me, is Talib going to the Rams. And I think they replace him with Denzel Ward here at this pick. I think that's most illogical because I agree that they don't usually take running backs in the first round. So that's why I think even if Barkley's there, they stay away. Quarterback-wise, they could go a lot of different directions, but I think they're going to give it one shot with Keenum. I think that unless they trade this pick out, which I could see happening to a Miami or a Buffalo, depending on what happens in the previous picks, I just don't see him taking him here. But I think that they need to fill that glaring hole on defense, and I think Ward's the guy for it. Let us know what you think. We're going to take a quick break. We gave you our picks for 1 through 5. We're going to take another break here and come back with 6 through 10. You're listening to the ODPH NFL Draft Special Edition.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
Midway point on this week's special edition of the ODPH NFL Draft Edition, and we got our breakdown, our 6 through 10s. You heard our 1 through 5s, but 6 through 10, starting off with the Indianapolis Colts. JR, who you got?
Oh, the Colts. So awesome. Andrew Luck's going to throw this year, right?
So far, so good. We'll see.
I mean, he's throwing a deflated ball right now, but, he's not New England.
On Madden 19, maybe, but...
So in my crazy, unbelievable, very realistic draft, Baker Mayfield, no question. Take him.
I don't know whether to laugh at you or take you seriously.
Why not? Hey, listen, I'm sorry, but eventually you're going to have to give up on this Andrew Luck thing. I'm sorry. You're going to have to.
I'm going to tell you right now they're not taking a quarterback.
I know. But
it's fun, though. I like it.
Listen,
bold.
Listen, you're going to have to do something different here because I'm sorry, but I think the Luck train's over.
No, you're right. I mean,
it's all over.
They passed on Peyton when he still had years left. So, I mean, it's very clear that they are not afraid to know when it's time to get, off this train with a quarterback.
It's just like when you think about it. I mean, if it's not Mayfield, of course, I don't think he's actually going to go there. But you're going to have to take a QB. I think. I mean, I know they need a lot. They really do. But I mean, I'm sorry, but the Andrew Luck thing's got to be over. I mean, at what point are you going to keep? Or is he not even going to play this year either?
Send him to Arizona. I'll take him right now. I will take him right now. I'll take my chances. I think he'll be fine.
I don't know,
man.
He
rushed himself back. That's what hurt him. His shoulder was really, really messed up. He rushed back. He even said the same thing. I honestly believe he'll be fine. They believe in it. If they would not have moved back from 3 to 6 if they thought his shoulder was really still going to be a problem. They would not have done that.
He's still not throwing.
That's fine.
It's not fine. It's horrible.
They don't want to rush him back because he re-aggravated it in the offseason and into last year. He did his own thing. He even admitted that. That's a big problem. You also got to remember, and you guys are going to laugh at me, Jacoby Brissett's a good backup quarterback. He's a good young guy. If you put some talent around him, he'd be fine. He's a good backup. They got trade calls on Jacoby Brissett. They chose not to trade him.
No, I'm not laughing at it. I think you made a lot of sense there because he did win games. I mean, you're judged by your wins and your losses. So
he played well in games, too. That Colts roster
is atrocious.
A nightmare.
Yeah.
And Chris Ballard is a good young general manager. He's got a lot of work ahead of him. He did the right thing. Collect the picks. I think, honestly, they want Quentin Nelson. I don't think he's going to be there. If he is, they could probably take him. The other guy I've heard that they absolutely love is Roquan Smith, the linebacker out of Georgia. But I honestly think this is where possibly Josh Rosen slides a little bit, and I think you could see whether it's Miami or Arizona, possibly the Chargers, somebody in this range, 6 to 8 to 9. If Rosen starts to slide a little bit, I think somebody's going to move up to get him. If I had to guess, I would say it's Miami because I've heard Adam Gase absolutely loves Josh Rosen.
Well, I mean, you've got 2 quarterbacks left right now of the top 5. So you've got Jackson and you have Rosen.
Right.
So, yeah, this would probably be the position that somebody would have to jump to if they were going to land one of those 2.
Right. I think it's – if the Colts stick here, I think they would – under this scenario – where I don't have Nelson on the board, I think they would pass on Saquon Barkley, and I think they would take Roquan Smith if they stayed there. But I think under this scenario, I think they would probably trade with Miami. Miami would go up and take Josh Rosen here.
So I would agree. I would if I'm them, I would trade this pick. I would try and wait for McGlinchey, probably in that 15 to 20 range. So whoever would be willing to trade there. So if it's Miami I think is in 12th or 13th. So, you're going to be able to get McGlinchey in that pick. So I'd shore up that left side of the line with a blindside tackle, blindside protecting tackle. And I would go with, and if it's Miami, then yeah, I'm going to go Rosen.
I actually think McGlinchey at the next level, Costanzo's a pretty good left tackle. I think they would move him to right.
He can play either one. He can play either one. He played right for the first 2 years at Notre Dame. So
McGlinchey's not flashy, but he's a really good football player. Like he can
He's
get beat
school.
by a speed rusher. They had a really good coach who's now the Bears offensive line coach. McGlinchey can play. He's a good player. He's a safe player. You're not going to take him there, but if you move down to 11, it's certainly possible.
Yeah, I think that if we're talking about the fact that teams are going to be in panic mode, especially with the first 3 of the quarterbacks off the board, and you've got a guy that you like, and if it's Rosen in Miami, like you said, I think you have to trade up to this position then to get him to secure him.
And Rosen's the most, I will say this, out of the big 4 quarterbacks, and it could totally change, but as of right now, Josh Rosen is the guy. If somebody's going to slide, it's probably going to be him. He's got a lot of there's a lot of Jay Cutler and Josh Rosen. There's a lot of questions. Does he love the game or does he love what it brings him? Is he a natural leader? I've heard 3 different opinions on him. I've heard, somebody I talked to said they absolutely love the guy. He's going to be a good pro, and he very well could be. He's got a ton of talent. But I've also heard he's not the nicest guy in the world. He's not loved by his teammates. He loves what football brings him. He doesn't love playing the game. That concerns me. But somebody's going to take him. And like I said, Miami, Arizona, those are probably the 2 likeliest teams that at this point that would move up for him. It's just what the cost, and does Indy want to move? Indy's got a lot of needs. Trust me, it would not hurt them to move back and collect more picks. They need it.
No, smart money would be Indy move back. But if they don't trade the pick, which, at this stage, yeah, I agree. I think Miami needs to make a splash, especially if they see Buffalo jump up, they got to make a move. Because if the East is upgrading all around, they don't want to be the ones left out.
And Ryan Tannehill, do we really think Ryan Tannehill is a long-term answer?
I think with those knee injuries, it's tough to come back from that many.
And Rosen does have his own issues physically that people don't talk about. Had a lot of concussion issues in college. He had a shoulder injury that he missed his complete sophomore year. I think he played 2 games. So he does have some injury history, and from what I was talking to a good source of mine who has intel on what some certain teams are thinking, I know the reason why Josh Rosen is the 4th-ranked quarterback for one in particular team is because of the injury history and the concussions and not because of his personality. So
there's a lot of variables to figure out. I guess if I have to make my choice, though, I take Smith here for Indy. I think they have so many needs, they got to just jump in somewhere, and if they don't trade the pick, they got to start rebuilding somewhere. Why not in defense?
Roquan Smith is a very good football player. I mean, he is. Anybody that knows, watches college football, watch last year's draft. If you liked Reuben Foster last year without the off-field incidents, Roquan Smith, in my opinion, is just as good. He's a missile. I mean, he is a missile. He sheds blocks for a guy that's not that big. He is lightning quick, and he's an alpha dog. I mean, that's what you want out of middle linebacker. He might have to play weak side linebacker in a 4-3, but he's an inside backer, and he is absolutely devastating. He's not afraid to hit you. Good football player.
He gave Notre Dame fits in that game against Georgia, and it was him. And, I mean, they have very good defensive tackles there that helped Roquan Smith get, into those holes, a la Ray Lewis. But he's still, like you said, he's a very good football player. I mean, he made Josh Adams look like a scared kid, and Josh Adams ran like a man last year. So, yeah, all the kudos in the world to that guy.
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, I just see him winding up there because Indy has to rebuild. If Luck is coming back and all signs point statistically to say yes, then you really don't have to worry about a quarterback per se. I mean, I do think that they could take a quarterback here. I just don't think they will, and I think they need to upgrade that defense, especially with Jacksonville on the rise in that division. They have to do something. Smith's the guy to do it.
And that's the other thing, too, is Indy, they have the best quarterback in the division if he's healthy. Okay, There's no question about that. But the roster on him is just not good. And I think Chris Ballard has done the I know Indy fans, a couple that I've talked to, are kind of frustrated because it's like, well, we didn't spend money in free agency. We got all this money to spend. Chris Ballard's the type of guy, he wants to build through the draft.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to just spend in free agency. He wants to build it the right way, and I think he's going to do the right thing.
I think JR actually really hit a good nail on the board there, though. How long do you ride this Andrew Luck manner, this car for? How much longer can you bank on him being there?
Well, if you have the good backup there and Brissett there, you have some wiggle room.
But the key that we keep saying here is backup Brissett, not the starter Brissett.
Well, I think
you got to remember though, I can definitely tell you this 100% fact. There were at least 2 teams that wanted to trade for him.
Oh, I mean,
as a starting quarterback.
Sure, I mean, I can definitely understand, but I'm just saying. I mean, you've got Andrew Luck here. You've got the cornerstone of your team that has an injury that has set him back a couple, seasons. You had Peyton Manning at one time, arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, sat out 1 year with one neck injury, who came back, who doctors obviously said that his neck was stronger than it was before. Obviously, he had lost some strength in his arm, which was very prevalent in those seasons in Denver. The guy still came back and won a Super Bowl. Now, I know that Denver defense was amazing, but I'm just saying he still had years left, and they were willing to get off of that Peyton Manning bus. How much longer will they ride the Andrew Luck one?
I think he has a short leash this year, but like I said, you have a backup that you can transition. They just need to make the commitment if they're going to do it. Like if the Colts start out, let's just say they start out 0-4, Luck is back and looks like a shell of his old self. You pull the trigger then.
I disagree, and this is the thing. This is the problem you're going to run into. There's a huge difference. When Peyton was coming back, Peyton was in his late 30s. The Colts doctors didn't clear his neck. That was a big issue. There was talk like if he took a hit, it could paralyze him. With Luck, he's still in his 20s. I mean, he's since I've been watching the draft, and I've been following this since I was a little kid. Okay, and obviously I have more knowledge now than I did when I was like 10. He's the best quarterback prospect I've ever looked at coming out of a draft. I still believe in the guy. I think if this was a major, major issue with them, I don't think they would be afraid to move on from him. I don't believe they're there yet. He might struggle this year. He hasn't played in a year, in almost 2 years. So he might struggle. It's possible. He's got to knock the rust off. But I think you have to see where you're at. What does he do? Because if they're terrible again, they're going to be picking high next year too.
Yeah, that's true.
If he doesn't play. So you're going to have your options. And you might come to the point and say, all right, and if you trade him and you give up on him too quick,
he'll come back to haunt you. I mean,
absolutely.
Is just the biggest X factor, I think, amongst teams in the top 10. Because Indy, I mean, statistically has not been good, but they have a high upside if they can get the potential. If not, they're in the perfect scenario right in the middle of that first 10 picks. They can move down and get some more picks and do some rebuilding. A lot of variables to go there.
Yeah, there's a ton. There's a ton.
So, I mean, moving to the next pick of Tampa Bay, because Indy, I mean, is the biggest X factor. Tampa, kind of have an idea where they're going, but let's see what the panel thinks. Coach, what you got for Tampa Bay?
So Tampa Bay, obviously, I mean, you talk about a team that needs some needs defensively right now. We got Denzel Ward off the board now since I had him going to Denver. I guess I'm going to go with Raekwon Smith. I didn't have him going to the Colts. I had the Colts trained down, so I think they're going to reach for a linebacker, but get the best linebacker off the board, and start to rebuild that defensive, front seven and be back to prominence like it once was.
This is where I have Saquon Barkley on. I think they have a need at running back. They don't have anybody on the roster to speak of. I think there's other guys they prefer. I think they prefer Quentin Nelson. Minkah Fitzpatrick could be a possibility here. Derwin James could be a possibility here. Denzel Ward could be a possibility here. I have most of those guys on the board except Nelson, but I think they look at Barkley, and that is going to make Jameis Winston's life a little bit easier. I think he fits their offense with Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans and O.J. Howard, who they drafted last year. But they do have issues on the O-line that they need to address and the back end of their secondary, safety, corner, that they need to address in this draft. Did a good job with the front seven, in the front, especially the pass rush and free agency with Vinny Curry and Pierre Paul and Bo Allen on the defensive tackle spot. But I think this is probably where Barkley goes.
I'm thinking, like you said, Tampa Bay, their defense is pretty atrocious on the back end. I'm thinking Ward right here for me. Like you said, it's a nice, safe pick, at least as far as I'm concerned out of Ohio State. Can't go wrong. At least you're going to need some help in the back end of that defense. I think he's an immediate fix right now. I think you take him right there.
I'm with you on defense, but I'm taking Davenport out of Texas, San Antonio there. I think even though they got JPP from the Giants this offseason, I think they still want to upgrade that defensive line. And put in a good defensive end to complement him, I think that's the way to go. But defense is going to be the pick here. I think that's probably the most solid lock for me anyway, looking at Tampa. If Barkley's there, yeah, I could see him taking him. I'm not saying it's all the realm of thought, especially Doug Martin's not there anymore. But I think for me, they're going to definitely go defense with this one.
Doug Martin hasn't been there for a couple of years.
Very good point. Very good point.
Is he been relevant for a few years? He has not. So, John Gruden thinks he can revitalize him in Oakland. I doubt it. But.
Hey, you never know. So moving forward, the Chicago Bears are at number 8. JR, who you got for that one?
Well, let's see. I loved last year with their train wreck pick taking Trubinsky that early for what they gave up because, they're the Bears. They're in our division. I don't like him at all, so I support any bad decision that they make.
So you basically just want them to trade this pick for a bag of balls?
I'm thinking, they could just trade this pick for next to nothing. They can just give it up. But I'm sorry. I'm going to pose this question to the panel. Who's their number one receiver on that team?
Right now? Allen Robinson.
Doesn't say much, does it? No. I think you're going to reach for a wide receiver here because you got to give something to throw to for Trubisky. That guy struggled bad, at least as far as I was concerned.
Well, you've got 2 tight ends that he's got, Trey Burton and Adam Shaheen, who they drafted last year. They think that they can turn around Kevin White. I don't think so, but but they also paid Taylor Gabriel. They paid Allen Robinson. I think the pick that Chicago would love and is probably desperately hoping he falls is Quentin Nelson. You have Notre Dame's old O-line coach as their new O-line coach. They have a huge need at guard. It's the only piece on their offensive line that they really need is that offensive guard spot. It's a huge need. They would love him. I don't think he's going to be there. I expect them to go defense. I could see Roquan Smith here. I could see Tremaine Edmonds here. I could see Denzel Ward here. This is the one team I don't have a great feel on from people I've talked to and just kind of looking at it. I know what their needs are, but the Bears in the last couple of years since Ryan Pace has took over, they are the best team at keeping everything quiet. Nobody has an idea what they're going to do. And, right now, if I had to guess, I would say Denzel Ward, but I have no idea. It's a complete guess. Well, all these other picks, from what I've heard and I trust the people I talk to, I have a feel for. This is the one pick. And this is also a possibility if Rosen falls here. I wouldn't be surprised. And the Cardinals have been mentioned, through people I've talked to as a team that could trade up for Josh Rosen here in this specific spot. But I'll say Denzel Ward.
So, in the scenario that we have right now, Quentin Nelson's off the board. We've got Denzel Ward off the board. We've got pretty much all the quarterbacks except for Jackson still off the board. I don't think so. Basically, we've all agreed that once the top 6 kind of settles in, that the quarterback scamper is going to be kind of quieted a little bit, maybe into the later round when Jackson does go off the board. I like Minkah Fitzpatrick here for this team. I think his versatility is going to be probably what they need with a young secondary that they have right now. And the fact that he played all 4 positions for Alabama, roll Tide, right, JR? Roll Tide, baby.
Yeah, roll Tide,
so,
SEC, baby.
So, I mean, the fact that he played all 4 positions goes to show that he has, the IQ that a young coaching staff is probably going to look for. So I'm going to go Fitzpatrick here.
Quentin Nelson. For me, he falls this far, and I have this as like the biggest lock. I think that for Trubisky, they want to build that line around him, and no other piece is better than him for that.
Quentin Nelson will not fall past 8. I can tell you that. That's
There's
a
no
100%
way.
guarantee, but I just don't think he's going to be there. But I agree. That'd be a great pick for them. And
Well-
Fitzpatrick he's an alpha. I mean, I said this with Roquan Smith. They are the 2 biggest leaders on defense in this draft. He reminds me of a bigger honey badger who stays healthy. I mean, can play anywhere. He's a freak.
Yeah, he played all 4 positions. He played corner, played safety, and played free safety. And the change that goes from playing corner, especially if you play the nickel to outside, and when you go from strong to free safety, just the change, especially in a complicated defense like Saban runs, goes to show the guy's got the smarts to play at the NFL level and be an elite player at the NFL level.
And you don't play as a true freshman under Saban unless he trusts you.
That's the other thing, too. Yeah, true freshman.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways I can go with this one. I mean, Chicago, either side of the ball could use some help, definitely. Number 9 is the 49ers. Dan, you're very familiar with this team. Why don't you break it down for us?
I feel like I actually have a pretty good handle on what the Niners want to do. They have needs in the back end of the secondary. They could use another pass rusher. But the guy that I've heard that they absolutely love is Roquan Smith. He's the guy that if he's there, I think he's their pick. I think they would – Fitzpatrick is probably a close second for them. I think either one of those would be a phenomenal pick, which I would hate to see because, I absolutely don't love the 49ers. But I expect Roquan Smith to be the pick if he's there. I know they love him, and with Reuben Foster's off-field issues, I mean, it feels like you're doubling down on that position, but Reuben Foster doesn't look like he's probably going to play next year with everything going on with him. And, Roquan Smith's pretty much the same player. They're very similar the way they play, and it'd be a great pick for the Niners.
I agree actually here with Roquan Smith. I mean, you know what? I'm all in on this in Lynch we trust because so far so good for the Niners. So if they're all in, I'm all in because they look pretty damn good at the end of last year, and the moves he's making in his first year, solid. So if they're all in, I'm all in.
You don't mess with Stanford guys, man. They're pretty smart. So
I tell you what, he's been making some big moves. I love it. They've got Jimmy GQ all lined up.
It's gutsy. I got to give them credit. It's gutsy. I'm waiting to see if Jimmy's really the answer because, yes, they won 5 games at the end of the year, but he didn't exactly light it up. Now, he's new to Shanahan's system, and it takes time. I do think Jimmy's a good quarterback, but I'm not ready to crown them yet. But I hate what they're doing because it's successful, but you got to give John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan a lot of credit. They're doing a good job building that up.
I mean, obviously, it's an arms race right now in the NFC West with Los Angeles and the San Francisco 49ers. Where they go here, I think it's a mixed bag. I'm having a tough time kind of deciding whether they go defense or we've got Calvin Ridley right now on the board still. Alabama, big, we're talking 6'1", possession wide receiver, somebody I think Jimmy G could build a very, very, very nice relationship with, especially when you talk about the success that the 49ers have had with possession wide receivers. Obviously, I know that was in the past, so I'm probably going to go right now. I'm going to go with Tremont Edmonds out of Virginia Tech, outside linebacker who can also play the inside. I think he's going to help them compete with the Rams from a defensive standpoint, which I think is something that they need to put an emphasis on right now with the way that the Rams have built their offense.
I mean, equally good picks. I got to go with Calvin Ridley here. I think that Frisco needs to do something to catch up with the artists formerly from St. Louis, but now in Los Angeles. Arizona, Seattle, the wide receiver core in the NFC West is big. So Frisco definitely needs to do something to match up. Des Bryant would be a great option if they could sign him, but I think he goes to Baltimore. Ridley is the guy they need. And if they can just get a couple more pieces later in the draft, I think they can definitely build around Garoppolo and become a contender. The defensive side definitely makes some sense. I mean, obviously they have some needs they need to address. But for me, they got to put some weapons around Garoppolo, especially you're signing him to pay that much money. You got to do something. If Ridley's there, I mean, you got to take him.
I think the crazy thing about Ridley, too, is he's just not talked about right now.
No.
I mean, nobody is talking about this kid, and he had great success at Alabama. That national championship game, I mean, I know that they brought in the freshman quarterback, and, it kind of helped save, made them competitive again, but Ridley was what carried them all the way through up to that game. I mean, that guy is a stud at wide receiver.
The problem that Ridley's had, and he's the best receiver in this draft. I don't think he's going to go. The earliest I can see him going is Green Bay at 14 from the things I've heard. But the problem that hurt him is his combine, and it's ridiculous. He's not considered explosive. This is not a great wide receiver class. You've got maybe 2 or 3 that go in the first round. But he's not considered explosive. I don't care if he's explosive. Watch him run routes. He's the best route runner in this draft.
Yeah, it's all it's about. If you can run routes, you can get open in the league.
He reminds me so much of Reggie Wayne. Watching him play, he's smooth. He's got a burst. He's going to run by you. Watch the Florida State-Alabama game.
Mm-hmm.
They put Derwin James on him, and Derwin James is not a corner, but they put Derwin James on him, and he blew by him. If Derwin James is a top 10 pick, I'm sorry, Calvin Ridley's a top 10 pick. He's not going to be taken there, but I wouldn't want to see San Francisco take him. He'd be a good selection for them, but he's a very talented kid, and they also didn't throw the ball out at Alabama. So you're not going to see, especially with Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
When they did, he made plays, and he's going to be a good player in this league. And quite honestly, Arizona needs a receiver. I would take him in a heartbeat at 15 if he was there. And
you're not looking for him to stretch the field. You're looking for him to, when it's 3rd down and 8, and you need that first down, you're looking for him to get open and catch that, that out route that we just talked about earlier in the show. He's that guy.
He might never be a true number 1 receiver in this league.
Right.
But if you could I'm going to be biased. You pair him with Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, that's not a good combination going forward.
No, it definitely is.
I mean, that's just the thing you do.
But I'm just saying is, especially you now have the highest priced quarterback in the league. I mean, debatable with Cousins. You need to give him some weapons around him. That's why I'm saying I think that would be a perfect fit for Frisco to make.
It would be, but Kyle Shanahan also does look for certain things in wide receiver because he played wide receiver in college at Texas.
True point.
So he does have certain things. I haven't heard him associated with them, but you don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. They could move back a couple picks and take him. Ridley'd be a good pick. I mean, San Francisco, these teams that we just talked about, 6 through 10, are all in a good position to get good football players because of these quarterbacks going so high.
There's definitely a lot of options for Frisco. To close out the top 10, though, John Gruden's back in the league coaching those Oakland Raiders. JR, who do you have at 10?
A really disappointing team last year.
Yep, because I remember they were your Super Bowl pick for.
Can we all agree that they were pretty disappointing last year? I mean, they were supposed to be AFC champion bound. I mean, this team was supposed to be ready to go right now. They just tanked last year.
They made some changes on the offensive staff that I think Carr wasn't a real big fan of Bill Musgrave, who's their offensive coordinator, and they decided to go with Todd Downing, who had never been a coordinator on any level outside of the high school level. And nothing against high school coaches. I mean, I have nothing but the most respect for them because I'm sitting across from one. But when you haven't done it collegiately or you haven't been a coordinator before, it's a hard position to just come into just because you're buddy-buddy with the quarterback. Derek Carr also wasn't healthy last year. That doesn't help.
Amari Cooper still dropping balls.
Right. There was a lot of things. The defense was atrocious. I mean, it was absolutely atrocious. That's why you make the change. Gruden brought in a really good staff. I question whether he can develop young guys. He had a problem with that at Tampa. So it's one of those things. I think they would go safety here. Derwin James would be my guess. Minka Fitzpatrick's a close second. The crazy part that both of these guys are still on the board to me because they're both really good players. But I expect them for the Raiders to kind of go with an attitude adjuster. And to me, that speaks to Derwin James. He's Cam Chancellor in a sense. That's the way he plays the game. He's tough, physical, big, really good player. I expect the Raiders to get a tone setter here with the 10th pick or trade down. That's always an option.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going Derwin James here for sure. I think that them getting a cornerstone piece for the defense, especially the way that it played in the secondary last year, is going to be vital. Yeah, but I mean, as you guys talked about, there was just a funk around this team last year, and I think that if you're going to bring in a guy like Gruden, you're going to pay him that money to be a head coach. I think that the first thing that he needs to do is revamp that offense. They've got to get a way to figure out to get Carr to be utilized properly, and I think last year they were missing that last year. And I think that I know Gruden runs a West Coast offense, but I think they still got to leave Lynch the way that he is, use him to be a vital piece of that offense to help move the chains. I mean, beast mode obviously is still very active because the guy can still truck stick people. But, yeah, I'm going to go defense. I'm going to go Derwin James.
I'm going to go defense as well. I think Gruden's going to work his magic on the offense. We'll see what happens. But for me, I take Trayvon Edmonds at this pick. I think that they need to give Khalil Mack as much help as they can on that defensive side, and I think he'd be a perfect addition to the linebacking core. That's who we have for our top 10. Let us know what you have. Hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break and then close out this show of our special NFL Draft edition of the ODPH. Closing out this special edition of the ODPH, our NFL Draft Preview, with our locks and leaps. And you know that segment if you're a faithful listener to the ODPH. If not, our lock is our surefire, bet the house on it, it's going to happen, prediction for the draft. Our leap is our wild shot that, hey, you never know is going to happen. So starting that off, JR, what's your lock and leap for this year's draft?
All right, this year I'm going with a big lock. Guarantee it. No doubt about it. Dan's got my back on this one. Minnesota is going to ditch the first-round pick like they always do at 30, and they're going to probably trade it to the Lions for an early second-rounder.
I don't know about the Lions part, but I wouldn't be surprised if they traded that pick.
It's a guarantee. When they're always this late in the draft, they always can it for an early second, so they don't have to pay in a guy in the first if they're not truly in love with anybody. I agree this is going to be the same thing here. My leap is that you're going to see Lamar Jackson fall to the late second round.
There you go.
All right, well, I mean, I'm going to go Lamar Jackson in my leap too, but we'll get there. My lock is going to be Gettleman as the Giants general manager getting an A rating for this draft. He will do a solid job with the picks that they have, and they're going to be able to revamp this team through this draft. My leap is going to be the New England Patriots are going to land Lamar Jackson.
That's heavily rumored.
But it's going to it's heavily rumored, but it's going to happen.
You know, do they have a contingency plan for Tom Brady? That is one of the most underlining stories that nobody's talking about. Because, as we've said prior to the show, and you want to go back through all our podcasts, you can take a listen. Father Time is Tom Brady's biggest enemy, and it's creeping slowly on him. So when does the abilities diminish, and what is the backup plan in New England? Biggest X factor of the season.
Right now, they don't have one with Jimmy G gone.
They
It's going to be
love
Lamar
Josh
Jackson.
Rosen. They love Josh Rosen. If they can get up there and get him, they will try to do that. They love Rosen. But Jackson's a possibility.
That'd be a heck of a move.
Coach, I'm going to ask you this only because you said it was your lock. He's going to get an A rating. How does he disappoint you? What does he if you're watching draft night and you're like, this is our guy, he's going to get an A, and then they take blank and you go,
Lamar Jackson.
dang it.
Too.
So, all right. So, for him to fail in my eyes, I think that I think he goes quarterback with that number 2 pick. I think that would be. I just don't think it's the right move with the way that this roster is shaped right now. I think that would. I mean, obviously, if he drafts a quarterback, everybody's gonna love it. But in my eyes, I don't think it's time yet, and I'll be upset by that. So that would hurt me. I think it would hurt. Just the overall feeling of the draft coming out of it. And I think that if they don't land the pieces needed to revamp this team, I think that's going to be the biggest thing. So taking the quarterback with that first pick and then kind of stretching for guys that might not necessarily need to be picked at the times that they pick. I think if he goes 5 for 7 in their picks, that's a win. But if he goes like 3 for 7 and drafts a quarterback with that first pick, that's a failure to me.
All right. Actually, I like this question. Dan, I know you're a Cardinals guy.
Yeah,
How? I mean, obviously, you know your team won't ever disappoint you.
They
But
always
they
disappoint me.
They disappoint you by taking who?
If they trade all the way up, give up a lot of picks for a guy like Josh Allen. My personal belief, there's guys that I want in Arizona. If my dream scenario is the Cardinals move back a few spots, draft Jair Alexander, the corner out of Louisville, and somehow find a way to get Christian Kirk, the wide receiver out of Texas A&M. That's my dream scenario, realistic scenario. Now, if they can move up and not give up a lot and get one of these young quarterbacks and set yourself up stability-wise for the future, I'm fine with that. But I do not – I will want Steve Keim's head if he moves all the way up and gives up 3 picks this year and 3 picks next year and takes Josh Allen.
Now, how about those locks and leaps?
Lock-wise, I have a few. I'm going to give you a few of them. Baker Mayfield to the Jets. Stamp it. Bookmark it. I said that earlier. Saquon Barkley will not go in the top 5 of this draft. Okay? There's always a scenario. You're going to see a lot of trades. I will guarantee you the Seattle Seahawks do not stay at 18. Okay? And the Philadelphia Eagles at 32 do not stay there. Those teams have no second-round picks. They're going to move back. As for leaps, I would say this. You're going to see at least 5 quarterbacks go in this draft in the first round, possibly 6. It's not you're going to 3 out of those 6 guys are going to fail in this league. It's just and I would even say probably 4 out of 6. That's my leap. 4 out of 6. I think the 2 guys that make it are Darnold and Mayfield.
Interesting choices, all equally good. I have to go for my lock is every team in the AFC East is taking a quarterback with their first-round pick. The Bills are going to take one, probably Josh Allen. Baker Mayfield is going to wind up in the Meadowlands, but with the Jets. I think Rosen falls to Miami, and I think Lamar Jackson goes to New England.
That's not far-fetched.
No, that is, I think, probably the safest bet that you can make. My leap of all leaps, because, you know, we mentioned draft day earlier. I sense Cleveland is going to do some moves. My leap, I'm just going to throw my lock completely out the window with this one. I think with the number 1 and the number 4, they're going to mortgage the farm and trade back into the first round and draft 3 quarterbacks to make sure they get it right this time. And they'll have some draft pieces to trade next year if somebody doesn't pan out.
Browns fans would actually probably be pretty happy with that.
I'm just saying.
Well, they got to be right on 1 out of 3, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Only the Browns can screw that up.
May the odds be in their favor, as the kids say.
So then, JR, your question posed to you then. What disappoints you in Minnesota?
First of all, nothing. Because in the first
Am I
round,
the only one that legitimately hates his team then? I mean,
I'm not. Listen, I'm not disappointed. At 30, I don't expect them to do much. Like I said, they're gonna fall back. So, I mean, we've made some noise even recently here. We've been shoring up that defense a little bit. Got Cousins, obviously paid him a little bit. We paid him what we had to at the time. I'm okay. I mean, my biggest thing, I'm not even overly concerned with this draft. I think we've got what we need right now. Moving forward, I am a little concerned because I still got to pay Rhodes. You still got to pay Diggs moving forward, so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. But, I mean, we did get Cousins, so I'm good.
You're
okay with it.
This is for Minnesota, this is a draft that can put them over the top, but it's also you got to look to the future. And any good general manager will tell you this. This draft isn't about next year. This draft's about 2-3 years down the line. And Minnesota has so many guys that are upcoming free agents that you might see them take a position and go, well, we don't need that. Well, that's trying to tell you, like, maybe they take a wide receiver because maybe they don't think they can pay Diggs.
Right.
Maybe they take a linebacker because they can't pay Anthony Barr. So that's the thing to look at. Minnesota's in a great spot, though, because they're loaded.
But my only fear, just bragging about my own team, is it's honestly this year or bust. As far as I'm concerned, because the defense is gonna you can't pay everybody. Unfortunately, we can't. You're not gonna be able to keep Barr. You're not gonna be able to keep Diggs. And Rhodes, I mean, someone's going to go, especially when you get a healthy paycheck.
That's why you pay Mike Zimmer, baby. He's a great defensive coach. He can coach everybody up. And Rick Spielman does a good job drafting.
Oh, you're telling me I'm fully aware of it, but I'm just saying, when it comes to dollar bills, man.
Outside of Christian Ponder.
I was actually okay with that pick for a while. No, I wasn't.
You were the only one in that room.
I'll give you a quick story. We talked about that draft. I talked to a good friend of mine. He works at ESPN now. And we were talking about the draft, and I go, hey, what do you think of Christian Ponder? He goes, well, I think he could win an MVP. And I go, you do? He goes, yeah, if he's playing in the Arena Bowl.
You know, that's the thing with the draft. You never know how somebody's going to add up, and especially it's so overanalyzed. I mean, we're just four fans that just like talking football here, but you never know until it's draft day.
Well, speaking of fans, JR's question to you, Ken. How do the Bills disappoint you in this draft? And how do they win you over?
They win me over. What's that?
Never. We circled the wagons, made the playoffs.
You know, honestly,
Yes.
they disappoint me by mortgaging the draft to go up to number 2, and they missed the pick. Like, for me, they're at a great position at 12. I could see them trading with Denver to 6, or 5 rather. I'm sorry, but to go up to number 2 and miss, that would disappoint me most of all. And granted, it would be a couple years till we really realize the damage of it. But being a Bills fan, and like I said earlier, I've sat through J.P. Lossman where they traded back in the first round. I've sat through E.J. Manuel where they mortgaged the entire draft to go get him, and they've missed. I am very gun-shy about them going up high and missing on a quarterback. And, of course, everybody looks good on paper now. But if they miss that pick, that sets us back another 5 years, in my opinion.
Anytime you draft a quarterback and you miss in the first round, I'll give you an example. The Cardinals did it with Matt Leinart. They were lucky that they had Kurt Warner. They don't go to a Super Bowl without Kurt Warner, but it did set them back. After Warner retired, they did not have an answer for a few years.
Well, they were lucky that Palmer was available. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, the Giants, they've been very fortunate to have a stability piece there in Eli Manning, so I can definitely understand what you're saying there. I mean, having that quarterback that you draft and you hit,
yeah, it goes wonders. And I mean, especially, I know they have A.J. McCarron. Is he the long-term answer? No. And I'm very realistic about it. Do I think he's an upgrade from Tyrod? Yeah, I will say this.
yeah, because Roll Tide.
Well, not even
Come
that.
on, Roll Tide, dude.
Not hey, Gator Nation here all
Facts.
day.
Gator Nation.
Doesn't matter.
That's
Roll
plus.
Doesn't matter.
Roll Tide.
I don't care.
Tide.
That's
Number
that-
one. Number one, Roll Tide.
It's
Yeah.
always Gator Nation.
It's always Gator
Chop,
Nation.
chop.
Absolutely is always Gator Nation. But the point is, McCarron is the gateway guy. Is he an upgrade from Tyrod? Yes. So there is some time to develop somebody. So I just want to make sure they nail this pick and they don't miss. Because, like I said, I already gave you scenarios where they've missed. And I'm gun-shy about this. Do they trade into the top 10? Yeah. How far they go, I don't know. But that would be the one thing that would disappoint me. What would win me over is if they actually make smart moves, not mortgage the entire farm because they have so many picks in the first 3 rounds, but they do enough that they upgrade their needs and they build on the success they had this past year because they got a lot further than anybody was really expecting them to. And if they can continue to do that, maybe tweak a little players here and there in the defensive side, they got some potential to really make a run at the Patriots because I think that window is slowly closing because Tom Brady is getting up there in age. Bill Belichick has had a lot of success. How much more does he want to win and coach up there? That's another question because I think the Josh McDaniel move, the fact he stayed instead of going to Indy, was a true telling sign that he is going to be passing the reins over to him. It's going to be interesting to watch. There's 3 days of it.
I mean, I'm just saying, if you need a quarterback, you can still blow up Ryan Ness's phone. I mean, he's still sitting behind Bortles. It's not a bad idea. I'm just saying.
I'm sure.
Go Cuse.
I am very sure of that. But let us know what you think. Is the NFL draft worth the while? We think so. We just spent an oversized edition of the ODPH talking about it, and we do it again in a heartbeat. So on behalf of Daniel John, who is going to be live tweeting during the NFL draft.
Yes, I will. I'll try to do every pick. Obviously, I'll be watching the whole thing, but you can follow me on Twitter at CardsFan1121, and I will tweet every pick. I'll give you my thoughts on it, and keep an eye out for the blog. Obviously, we'll have an insight after the draft's over, give grades, even though it's impossible to give grades because you don't know for a couple years. But I'll give you my thoughts on everything that happens with the draft. So obviously, tune in and definitely appreciate you guys following along and then reading the blog.
Absolutely. Rolling Those Dice is on the ODPH website, so go check it out and let Dan know what you think of it. For Coach Duffy returning to the studio.
No, it felt so good. This is so euphoric, guys. It's just a blast to be here. But on serious note, I'm doing another BU game, so April 27th. So if you guys want to tune into that on ESPN Plus now, not ESPN, greatly appreciate the feedback you guys gave me. I had a blast last time. And for all you Knicks fans, I got a piece coming out on the blog, too, to talk about what we're going to do with that coaching staff out there. But enjoy the draft, guys. Have fun. Thanks for having me back.
For the sound guy galore, JR, who will be taking off on vacation,
I will be watching the draft from the beach. So yes, it'll be a great time.
You're not gonna watch the draft from the beach.
Oh, of course I am. Be sitting on the beach, be watching on my phone. Oh yeah, I'll be watching.
And I am your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH. This has been a special edition of the ODPH NFL Draft Edition. We'll see you next time.
Instead of making promises in the dark, why don't we just play our part? 'Cause I'm all alone and you're all alone tonight. Act like lovers, but we're not even friends. You can see the end, but it feels good to pretend. What does it matter?